What up, people? So, this is a story about how when we go inward, you learn that the answer to your fears was there the whole time. Um, this is a personal share. And what I think I'm going to start doing is whenever I share my personal real time journeys, I'm going to call it story time with NSG. And this is something that I'm going to do exclusively on YouTube. So if you are not following me, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I am trying to get my subscribers up because I want to go live on YouTube and do some workshops and such. Okay. So help a sister out. All right, so story time with NSG. I am going to title this Your Answers in the Middle, and you'll see why. All right, so today, right, this is me sharing with you my real time self discoveries. Because as a transformational coach, I don't want people to just think that I'm not doing the work myself, right? I'm not one that's just pushing this out on others. I am doing this actively every day, which is why I love and believe in it so much. So earlier today, today is Sunday. I don't know when you're going to watch this, but today is Sunday, April 10th. And on Sundays, I like to kind of really get in the groove of watching my pastors on YouTube. And so I'm watching Jerry Flowers. I'm watching one of his older ones. And he starts talking about laying down the thing that's holding you back, like laying down the thing that's holding you back at the altar. And I'm like, well, what the hell is holding me back? Like, I've grown a lot, but I know it got to be something. So I asked myself that question. I realized synchronicities. Just yesterday, someone had asked me, what's my greatest fear? And so immediately that came to mind. And I was like, well, there it is. My fear is being alone. And I always talk about exploring your why. So this is something that I do now. It's almost like second nature. When I get an answer, the first thing I ask is why, because I want to confirm that that is what I really mean or see if it's deeper. So that came to me, the fear of being alone. And I was like, why? And it I was brought back to my upbringing, which was I was abandoned at a young age. And from there it set the tone of me feeling like I was going to be alone. And so one of the things that I used to think, right, because your self-discovery journey will take you through levels, like you'll go through layers and layers and layers and get deeper until you reach the core of what a situation is, right? Beautiful thing is that after you uncover each level or layer, you are still growing and glowing, right? So for me, I used to think that my biggest fear was ending up like my mother, who was alone. And I used to think, well, because my mother's alone, I'm going to be alone. Peel back some more layers, my fear was because my mother left me, I was going to be alone. Because my mother left me, the person that's supposed to care and nurture you, that I wasn't worthy of that. And for that, no one was going to see me as such, right? So the fear of being alone. And that's all of what came to me this morning as I asked the why. Now, that is not a particularly new discovery for me, but the way that this was all threaded together was amazing. Y'all might hear the soundtrack of New York City outside. Can't do much about that. Sorry, y'all. Getting back to the subject. So after I discovered the why and confirmed that being alone is my fear, and that's the thing that I wanted to lay down at the altar, I was like, all right, well, God, here, listen. I started praying. I'm like, God, take this, because yes, I am friggin' tired of this right now. And as I'm praying on that, one of those weird occurrences happens, and I hear, what's your middle name? Random, right? You heard what the story is about. You heard what I'm focusing on, and then I hear, what's your middle name? I'm getting chills on the inside a little bit right now because just remembering what just happened to me, right? So I hear this thing, what's your middle name? And I'm like, Instead of answering it, the next question that popped into my head was, what does my middle name mean? Like, I know my first name, Denise, means wine goddess, but my middle name, Anne, I don't know what that means. So I Google it. This legit, I'm telling you, I was listening to Jerry Flowers. It took me down the rabbit hole of wonder. I started praying, and now here I am Googling my middle name. And all I do is Google Anne and meaning. Anne meaning. That's it. First thing that pops up is he, parentheses, God, favors me. He favors me. I look down the next line, and it's favor and grace. A couple of lines down, it's spiritual meaning, spirituality, and I'm just like, wow, wow. My middle name means God favors me. And so I'm like, all right, God, put this together for me. Because let me tell y'all something. If y'all think that my prayer life is thou and art and all this stuff, I talk to God just like I'm talking to you guys, because that's just my nature, right? So I'm like, all right, God, put this together. Help it make sense for me. Like, help me make sense of this. Why is this here? Right away. That's in the middle. My middle name is God favors me. So what my beginning was didn't mean anything, because dead smack in the middle of it all was God's favor from birth. And because God's favor was placed on the inside of me, or the inside of my name from birth, my ending was always going to be a reflection of what's in the middle. And I never, ever noticed that. And in that moment where I asked God to take away my fear of being alone, he showed me that his favor was on me from day one. It was just like, wow. But there's other levels to this story. Let me tell y'all, my middle name is not on my birth certificate. Now, without getting into too many details, my mom was mad at my father, so I don't have my dad's middle name, and he picked my whole name apparently. But I didn't have my dad's middle name, the chosen name that he gave me. But my family, both maternal and paternal side of the family, made sure that I knew that my middle name was Anne. It's not on my legal documents, but people made sure I knew my middle name. And in that, God even pointed that out to me and was like, what wasn't written, what you didn't have, doesn't matter, because I always provide you with exactly what you need to know exactly who you are and what is in you. It was there from the beginning. It was always designed. And if you think about it, our parents pick our names, for the most part, our parents pick our names before we're born. So before we were born, God's favor, right in the middle. My beginning was fucked up, but God's favor came right in the middle. And for the beautiful part about this story for me is that it just shows what happens when you get curious and you start digging on the inside of you. I didn't talk to anybody else. When I had this moment, it was just me listening to the word of God, and then I went inward. And this is what I'm talking about with transformation, guys. Your transformation is there for you to discover about yourself, all the answers that you have, all the worries, all the fears, everything you need to be quieted, quelled, to move through. You have the power on the inside of you to do it. And as a transformational life coach, it is my job and also my pleasure, my gift and my blessing to be able to work with you to help you discover that. Not because other people told you, right? Because if I had stayed with what other people told me, or if I would have stayed with what I saw around me, I never would have been here. I never would have been here. I was not supposed to graduate high school. I was supposed to be have a ton of kids and have not graduated high school and not made anything with my life because that's what was told to me. But that's not my story. And for those whose story it is, baby, however you choose to see what you went through is always going to guide where you're going. So if you continue to see yourself in a negative light, if you continue to see the things that happen to you in a negative way, then it's going to continue to impact you in that negative way. But if you seek inward, things like that, like what I just shared with you, start to happen and you get answers. And there are so many stories like this that I've had. But it started with me getting curious. And to be 100% honest with you, the way that I even realized that I needed to get curious was because a struggle had taken me down. And then I started to realize that there were people around me encouraging me to seek within. And then I started to realize that my career, the path that I had been on, that I used to help serve others, I needed to use to help serve me. And I started to work on myself, and I realized I needed external support. So I went to therapy, and therapy helped me greatly. And then I got closer to God, and then faith helped me. So my professional skills started the chain that led me to finding resources, and those resources then guided me back to deeper levels of myself. And now I've made a whole business out of it. And I share this with you all to say, go within, baby. Your answers and who you are, it's all in your middle. You want to work with me? There is information in the description, so just look at it. Drop a comment. Let me know how this resonated with you. And in the meantime, y'all, never stop growing. Bye.